You're listening to Community Forum on KCCC 930 AM, sponsored by Eddy County, honoring God, country, and family, thriving with industry since 1889. Also sponsored by CNB Bank. Go to carlsbadnational.com to learn more.
Thank you for listening to Community Forum. My name's Johnny Chandler. I'm the owner of KCCC 930 AM and the host of Community Forum. And with me today is Kyle Marksteiner. Now, Kyle Marksteiner's been with us before, but today he's with us in a completely new capacity. He's the executive director of the United Way of Eddy County.
That's correct.
All right, I got all that correct?
Yeah, United Way of Eddy County.
All right, so I know a lot of communities, we'll get that out of the way right away. A lot of communities have like a United Way in the city and a United Way in the county. Like, does Artesia have a United Way? Do they have their own?
That's part of the United Way of Eddy County. They merged in 2019.
Okay, so you have Loving too then?
Yeah, the whole county, big county.
Whole county, all right. Yeah, it is a big county, actually. Excellent. So I've heard a lot about the United Way. What am I, 44? United Way has been along before I was born, correct?
Sure.
Right, it's been around since World War II. Is it a World War II organization?
I believe so. I know the Carlsbad one was incorporated in, I think, 1951.
Okay, yeah, just
then,
post.
Yeah, and a long history of tied in with the community. I think a lot of times before many of these other nonprofits exist, the United Way was kind of the big entity in the community that tied in with all of those other services that were provided. When you think about it, like restaurants, years ago you had the Sizzler and Red Lobster,
yes,
and just a few chain restaurants that you can think of, and now there's hundreds of them. Well, United Way is like the Sizzler or the Red Lobster. It's the one that's just been around before anybody.
Yeah, United Way is the OG,
exactly,
right, as the kids would say it now.
We're too old to say that.
Yeah, the OG, the original. And so the Red Cross, all that stuff around that same time, I guess, right?
Yeah, Red Cross, Salvation Army, and there's a few different entities that are kind of historic. And then, our main function we serve, or one of the biggest functions we serve, is we're an allocations agency.
Okay.
A lot of these folks are focused on what they do, keeping their doors open, providing their service. And our job is to go out and try to generate some funds for them.
Okay. So that's also for other nonprofits as well as families and individuals?
It's a couple things. So for that's our allocations is for nonprofits. We provide grants.
So you're a nonprofit that provides nonprofit.
Yeah, and that's one of our roles. And again, they don't all have the financial experience we do, financial expertise. You've got some little tiny programs, Carlsbad Literacy Program and things like that. They're busy teaching people to read. And so one of our jobs is to go out there and try to generate them some revenue. Some of those formulas have changed in the past because, lots of nonprofit used to be more individual office giving. Your boss would come and say, "Here, fill this packet out."
Right.
I think things have sort of shifted now into like oil companies providing individual contributions to entities, and they support us, and they also like supporting some of these folks that we work with. So the formula is kind of all a little bit different than it used to be.
Is our community a little too dependent on the large oil companies and like the large donations? Do you think? I mean, we're going to get into a lot. I have a lot of questions for you, but I want to ask, like, as a community, are we good at giving individually and small, or are we relying on the large ones continuously?
It's a little bit of everything. What I love too is I do a lot of presentations at schools. I go talk to teachers. Teachers aren't large oil companies. They don't make what large oil companies make, but they're very generous donors, and they and they're on the front line of some of the stuff that we talk about. We talk about helping the Boys and Girls Club. We talk about helping with behavioral health services. Well, I don't need to tell a teacher what that means. A teacher knows exactly what that means. And so, my presentation when I speak with educators is a little different because they don't need the background. They've seen firsthand what drug addiction does to kids, and they've seen firsthand what rehab, how it helps, and how it helps people get their lives back in count. So, I suppose the dollar amounts from some of the big companies are higher, but per capita, in terms of number of people willing to fill out a paperwork and everything, educators are probably still on top there.
Historically, the United Way of Eddy County, where would you say it is when it comes to influence, both in the community as well as money to give out or financially?
Sure. No, it's a great question. We're rebuilding right now. About 10 years ago, they were probably still one of the strongest entities in town. And there's been some struggles. There's been some companies that have kind of shifted the way they give away. They're still generous, but they do it in a different way. COVID caused a lot of problems with nonprofit, including the United Way.
Yeah.
There were lots of money just being thrown at entities, and then and so it kind of set up some false positives, no pun intended with the COVID thing there, but set up some skewed numbers where the numbers that were being reported weren't actually the really good numbers. And then, all that funding stopped, but then some of the services that have been created still existed. And so Many nonprofits, including the United Way, are kind of rebuilding right now and trying to still get over some of these major changes that have happened in the last few years.
Yeah, I've said like there's a lot, even private businesses were kind of affected by the idea of the shift that COVID made, right? So you had COVID, then all of a sudden this one business, X business, whatever, this one business is doing gangbusters.
Sure.
And hadn't really done well before. And so they do that for a year and a half, and they start changing their mindset and their business model towards this, right? Yeah. COVID's over, and then everything shifts right back to the way it was before.
No, and we live in a culture too where there's GoFundMe's and we're all
so much
flooded with different good causes, and so it used to be you'd go to work and one of the only nonprofits you might hear about was the United Way. Now there's something on Facebook. Hey, there's a service, and all good, all well intentioned, but I do think some people have just been. They get approached so much at once that they're trying to figure out what to do. So we still have many generous donors, but yeah, to be honest, our total campaign has trickled down a little bit than it was maybe a decade ago.
So, I mean, there's always these agencies that we know as Americans that we feel like have gold stars next to them, that we believe that a very large majority of every dollar of each donation is going to good things. I believe the Red Cross is one of those.
Right.
Salvation Army is one that has that reputation.
Sure.
I do believe the United Way has that reputation. Can you tell us about, even on a national level, how much of each dollar is going directly towards charities?
98% of the money goes local.
Got it.
And a lot of that is distributed, but we also have some of our own programs we offer, and those programs include both those services offered by people and then the things they do. The one I'm a huge fan of, it's called our 2-in-1 program.
Right. You posted about this recently.
Yeah, I love it. It's a great program because it's kind of a resource directory. I don't know who to call. I'm new to town. I need diapers. I need gas. Where do I start?
Right.
Well, we like you to start with us, and we can't do all of those things, but we can do some of them, and the ones we can't do, we try to get you to the right place. So it's kind of an advocacy. We're your service lawyer, I guess, in terms of trying to get you to the right spot. And I don't think everybody even knows about that, and it's such a good program, and it's how we spend a lot of our time and resources. The allocations are important, but as our identity shifted, we need to also do our own thing. And the 2-in-1 program, I think, is a big thing of what we do. We also have a food distribution program that's unique to United Way in partnership with Roadrunner. And, that's a big thing on resource. Today, they were trying to teach the old guy in the office, and by that I mean me, how to do the tablet to check people in when they come to get their food and everything.
Right.
My chubby fingers, I was hitting 4 buttons at once every time I pushed something, and so they were rolling their eyes at me, and they finally just handed me a clipboard, and so I'm going to do it old school.
Right. If you ever get a text message from Kyle, then it's trouble, right? Those fingers just took every other button you could think of.
So the combination of the allocations, but then the 2-in-1 service that we offer.
Walk me through how I would use that if I needed this. So I call 211.
Yeah. So the big you'd literally just dial 2-in-1, and so we'll pick up and hey guys, I'm behind on my water bill. What do I do? Well, you may not qualify for us to immediately save you. But in certain circumstances, we have some funds where we could say, okay, we're going to pay your month's water bill this year to get your water back restored, and then that'll help you a little bit. And so, we need some information and proof of income and all that. And so, or if it's something we don't provide, I had somebody, hey, I'm trying to move from Artesia down to Carlsbad. What can I do? Well, we don't have a housing program with the United Way, but what we do have is people in the office who know a little bit about the system, me and others. And so I called for them. I called transitional housing. I called them.
Right.
I called the state housing authority, and so I kind of put them together a little kit. And here's some people who may be able to help you with your problem.
Right. So now, how has your experience, especially obviously working for the city of Carlsbad for 10 years, was it?
Yeah, at least
10 years, right, for a decade of your life. How has that experience kind of prepped you for the executive director of United Way?
I'm well known in the community. I like to think that I have a decent reputation in the community, and so when something comes up, I kind of know who to call. And I know, okay, maybe this person can help us, or what can we give? So ideally, I hope it helps with fundraising a little bit. Okay, we know Kyle, he's a good guy, and let's give. But really the program should speak for themselves, and so me being just a representative of what they do and how they work should be the thing. So, I think it's prepped me well. I think, when you work in government, as you sort of have magic fairies take care of your funding.
Yes.
When you work for a small business or a nonprofit, you don't have those magic fairies anymore. And so you spend a lot of time looking at the bottom line and what are you going to do about it? And, the other day, and this is going to sound dramatic, we decided to cut our cleaning service. And so I go in on Sundays, I wash the toilets, I mop the floor, because I would rather that couple $1,000s go to a program in town than go to me not having to clean the toilets.
Right. And then, one day once you guys get rolling again, maybe the cleaning service is necessary.
Maybe
to come back. I mean, but when you got to start, you got to cut.
No, and it is. And so we've whittled down, and it's funny. Right when I first started, they, one of the elementary schools, they did some little penny drive and whatever. So I got this big bag of donations the kids made, and Kyle, can you go take this? Well, everybody else working there knows what they're doing better than I do, so I get to go do the take this to the bank job, so I got this giant bag of money, and I get over there, and at the same time I had my first check of being a United Way employee.
All right.
So I deposit the giant bag of money that elementary school kids, and I'm looking at this check, and I thought, I can't just keep this. And so I took that check and I redonated it back to the organization, because I'm like, these kids, when they were putting their pennies in there, they didn't think I'm doing it so for Kyle. I'm doing it for all these groups in need. So,
right.
I mean, I'm paid. I'm not going to pretend I'm not, but we are doing everything we can for that money to be focused on where it's needed the most.
Well, I guess you have to sacrifice for sure. How many executive directors has United Way of Eddy County had in its history?
Dude, I have no idea.
Okay.
I've been involved, and about 12, maybe 14 years ago, I was kind of not in a great place in my life and didn't really think highly of myself. And a guy at the college, Mike Cleary, called and said, Kyle, you should be on the United Way board. And I got really involved and really invested, and it kind of helped me return how I viewed myself and what I thought about myself, and did campaigns, did the different donation, charity programs, and my term at the board ended. And so then when I found out about the organization needing some help this year, and it was around the same time that Mayor Janway's term was coming to
right.
an end.
You were looking for an opportunity.
And maybe there's a message there somewhere that I'm supposed to go help. And and I hope that doesn't sound arrogant, but to me it sounded like, maybe God, maybe the world's telling you, dude, we need you to give back some more, and we need you to go over there. And so
stay in Carlsbad.
And I'm definitely staying in Carlsbad. Okay. I like it here. So but and there's been a lot of other experiences like that have kind of brought me back. I volunteered at one of the transitional housing, the shelters, when it was cold out. They opened up a church, they put a bunch of cots out, and this mom brought her kids in, 3 kids, and the youngest boy had this cough all night. And I've had sick kids have a cough, whatever, but this wasn't that kind of cough. This was a cough that you could tell that kid had been living the street. It was a very
continual been in the cold
cough.
continuously.
Yeah, and so you're sitting there listening to that cough, and you think, wow, I need to, what can I do? I need to do more. And so, just many situations like that, where you just realize, let's wake up, let's look around, let's see if we can do something good around us.
How many, where's your office located? I don't even know where your office is.
We're downtown. We're on Canyon Street, downtown. Yeah.
Next to what?
We're we're next to the Foundation building on one side and the Artist Gallery on the other.
Oh, okay. Exactly. Now I know exactly where you're at then.
Yeah.
Before. All right. I guess I can even picture the sign. I can even see the sign on the building now. But I don't know why it took me.
And we've got different groups, Intrepid, Simcoe, many of the oil companies, like I said, Educator. We've got a lot of good people who are willing to help. And again, same folks are being hit up for 100 different things every day. And so the fact that they pick us to help with and entrust us means a lot to me.
Well, I mean, every time I do an interview with anybody in the community, whether it's your nonprofit or Carlsbad Main Street or a different nonprofit or, pardon me, the Carlsbad Literacy Program or any of those, it's always the same companies that are stepping up and helping the community. Sure. And I mean, and that's what makes it great down here. And the companies that do business down here do not forget about the community at all.
Right. No, I mean, we've got a very giving community, it's funny. I called somebody to tell them about a scholarship we're going to be offering, and she said, "Oh, by the way, I want to make a donation to you guys today." And then one of my neighbors, I dropped off a Carlsbad local, and said, "Hey, I want to make a donation to you guys." So, it's cool, it's flattering, it's honoring, but I really want anybody out there listening to know that we take so seriously making sure that money is going to helping people and spending it correctly.
So you're new. How long have you been there?
I've been a full-time director for a little more than 2 months. I was kind of on a little contract for a few weeks before that to help me kind of get used to the system.
Get acclimated to everything, right? Okay. So obviously you can't really hold a position like this without a supportive board.
We have a great board, and it's an Eddy County board. And so our board chair, her name is Tammy. She's up in Artesia. And then we have 9 board members, and then next week we're going to vote and add a couple more.
All right.
So, no, it's a countywide board, and it's Artesia folks too have been extremely supportive of making inroads and everything like that. I mean, when it comes to this stuff, when it comes to hunger and giving people a chance, that rivalry stuff doesn't matter.
Yeah.
It's all about just getting people back on their feet. We had such a busy Christmas season with going out and helping with some of the food drives and things like that. That was just, I loved it. One of my favorite, I had to drive a trailer for the first time. Never done that before. So
really?
Terrified. Drive up to Artesia. We're standing out there in front of Fenn's Country Market for a few hours. And it was awesome because the grocery store had brought out a bunch of green beans for display case. Well, we thought those green beans were for
donation.
Up.
Yeah.
So I busted my back. I loaded about a third of them, and the manager came out and he's like, guys. But then he called his boss, and they said, you know what, take them. So I went out to the food place out in Artesia with just hundreds and hundreds of green bean cans. And so the lady thought it was the coolest thing ever. So yeah, it's been great. We get to help out with stuff like that.
You didn't have to back the trailer up, right?
I poorly backed the trailer.
Backing trailers up can be quite difficult. I get some experience.
So I was doing something and I decided to turn around, and I got caught in a little cul-de-sac, or not even like a driveway, and I couldn't. And so finally I just kind of I drove through a field or something, came out somewhere else, and then moved on with my life. So no, not my forte.
So do you feel like are you drastically changing things? Do you need to flip this model on its head? Like what's your strategy? So,
the strategy I think is to rebuild energy for it, rebuild just excitement, enthusiasm towards it. We're going to, we are starting with some of the traditions. We're starting with, we want our victory lunch back. We want a school supply drive back. We want a day of caring back. And these are things that people remember from a few years ago. And so that brings more enthusiasm. Now, there's some, there's tweaks we want to make. There's changes. There's improvements we want to make. And, but it's a collaborative effort. It's not just, I'm not going to march in and say, hey guys, this is what we're doing. We have some great employees there I work with, and then board, like you said, and community members and volunteers. I was going to ask you, that was my next question, was what is United Way's signature event, right? Clark Farm has their gala, right? The Desert World Wildlife Rehabilitation Center, the annual benefit dinner, the Rehabilitation Center does. Every nonprofit in this community has that signature event. They're all held at the same places, but that's because we're a victim of where we live. I mean, there's only a couple of places to do that large of groups. But what is your signature event? So right now we have a couple different things each year. Our closest thing to a gala right now is our annual victory lunch. Nonprofits have to have an annual meeting, and we call that our victory lunch. That's going to be in April this year. We also, I think the two big ones when you think about United Way, we're Stuff the Bus and Day of Caring. Okay. And then we have a big golf tournament in May, Cinco de Mayo golf tournament. And so I think those are kind of the biggest ones. Now we've added a few. We had a little mini golf tournament in October. We had a virtual golf tournament in December. So, I mean, we're not compelled to have everything we do be a golf tournament. Right, but it's working out lately. It's a start. And so, I mean, I've talked about some others. I've always wanted, since I was working at the city, to have some kind of, X Games things where you go to the water park and you race down the slide, and then you go out to the disc golf and some kind of. What if you did like a cardboard box boat or something with like duct tape and tried to who can make it the farthest across the river? Something like that. I want some kind of cool some things like that. And the city is very willing to help. Now the government entities, have to be fair to all nonprofits and give everybody equal treatment. But certainly, they're willing to allow entities to have programs and services when they can. I mean,
every time you interview somebody, you understand that like money is always great, money is always helpful, but it's not the only way you can help. So why don't you kind of give us the rundown?
No, exactly. But tomorrow we have a food drive, and we're setting up outside of a local church, and we're going to have more than 60 vehicles pull up, and we're going to provide them with resources that'll last them probably almost a week. And we love having volunteers on that. We usually have several of the local companies do it and some other folks.
Do you guys do food drives every week?
We do a food drive once a month.
Okay, go ahead and give when that is for everybody.
Okay, so it's tomorrow. If you want to volunteer.
Or on Fridays.
It's on Friday. It's the whatever Friday of the month tomorrow is in January.
Yep.
And we meet out in front of Epworth Church. We ask people to be there about 8:30 to help us set up, and then people show up about an hour later.
That'll be the second Friday of every month.
Okay.
And what time again?
If you're helping volunteer, probably about 8:30. If you're needing food, I'd say about 9:30.
Okay. Now, do you need to call you ahead of time, sign up to volunteer, or can you just show up?
We show up and we have a volunteer sheet. If you want food, we ask that you try to register online in advance. If not, we can register you there, but that helps a lot.
Okay. Website?
www.uweddycode.org.
Oh, this is just one of those ones that rolls right off the tongue. Yeah. Very easy to do. How about you go to Google or Bing or whatever, Safari, and you Google United Way, Eddy County.
Eddy County. We have a Facebook page. The Roadrunner Food Program we have has its own registration page.
Great. So, all right. So for the food program, you do want to try to register separately. You're going to get ahead of the time on that. And so, how are you doing with food? I mean, I hear national stories about things that are not great for a lot of people, but are we overwhelmed?
Our food, we've had a lot in the last few months. We've had a high attendance. We've given out, I guess before I started, September, we had a little bit of food left, and so we go give it to some other entities. Lately, that's not at all the case. Okay. Lately, every bit of food we have is gone.
You want to shout out the entities locally that help with the food?
So I think the big ones, Simcoe is a big help. ConocoPhillips, Flogistics, Boys and Girls Club of Carlsbad. We have several others, but I think some of the big crowds that show up are from one of those companies.
Okay, excellent. All right, I mean, I don't really have much else for you. I know you guys do a lot, and so I guess the main question is, do you have enough staff to keep up, and do you have the ability financially to keep up with all your plans?
Staff, yes. Staff,
okay.
We have. I'm the only full-time employee. We have 3 part-time employees, and every single darn one of them does a full-time work.
Sure.
They're 3 great women, and they move like they're hasted or something. They're moving around, and staff-wise, yes. Financially, we're into. It's a difficult situation. We are striving to be able to allocate more, and give all these wonderful groups around enough to help them with all their program, but we're looking out for some different groups to work with. So financially, we are in a situation where we definitely could appreciate some additional help.
Okay. And what you guys take one-time, monthly, yearly donations?
Yeah. Come by and visit us, hand us a check, mail us one. Again, it's all on our webpage. You can donate online. Some of the companies have, payroll deductions. Some just don't like doing that. That's just not worth messing with. So some of them are willing to say, hey, if you want to come, we'll pass a bucket around.
Do you make it easy for paycheck donations to come straight out of your paycheck? United Way has a system set up for that.
We have a really good system. Yeah. And there's kind of an accounting software, I guess, that's devoted specifically to nonprofits in United Way, and it goes in there that lets us track everything and see where it came from.
I had one more question related to the United Way. Actually, I just thought about it. As one time when I worked for the city of Albuquerque, I gave to United Way. For some reason, I was real indignant and demanded in a way that it goes to a certain charity within the United Way organization.
Right.
I don't know why I did that. Maybe somebody suggested it, but they said that was possible.
Yes, you're allowed to do donor designations. Okay. Basically, when you fill out the little form, there's a box you can check, and we make sure that entity gets the money.
It's that specifically. So not only do you take it entity-wide, organizationally wide, you also can break it down. If somebody has a particular passion about one nonprofit specifically, the United Way is still the best place to get that to them.
Absolutely. And then we have a small scholarship program. We have a Help on Tap program. That's, again, we want to get your water back on. We have started, one of the things I'm proud of is we have what's called an electrical relief program. We were getting all kinds of calls. Man, my power's cut off. I got 4 kids. What do you want me to do?
Right.
we got some money from some different companies. It's a limited amount of money. We can't help everybody, but we're able to now take some families and help them keep their power on, especially during this time of year.
Well, and we're such an extreme environment, right? So it's either really cold or it's really hot. And you've only got a couple months out of the year where you don't have to live with it.
Sure.
Yeah, it was just always using energy.
And it's tough because those bills, they add up very quickly.
Stack. Yes,
and
they
so
do.
I can't begin to promise you that the United Way is able to solve every person who was elected, but we've been able to solve some, and so that's a good step. We give out space heaters when people call us and need space heaters. Another program I'm proud of, and this has been one we've been talking about for years, is right now when your house burns down, fire department comes out, puts out the fire. One of my favorite people in the universe, Jennifer Armendariz, will come out and kind of do an intake to try to help you. She'll help you call the Red Cross. Red Cross can't always get down right away or doesn't always have the resources. So we've got a small amount of money to help some families who may need a little extra assistance, like within the span of a few days after their home burns down, getting back on their feet. So, that's another one again. It's a kind of a gesture now on our part. Ideally, once we're up and running and healthy and we have everything's running off 4 cylinders, I want that program to be really refined and really effective.
Excellent. Well, sounds like you all are doing really great things. Do you want to close us out?
No, guys, I appreciate all your listeners. Like we were talking about before, there's a million charities out there, and sure, I hope you give to us, but really if you're somebody out there giving to anybody, then I salute you. And, that's what brings us all together. So thank you for doing that.
All right. Well, Kyle Marksteiner, Executive Director of United Way of Eddy County. Thank you, sir.
You're listening to Community Forum on KCCC 930 AM, sponsored by Eddy County, honoring God, country, and family, thriving with industry since 1889. Also sponsored by CNB Bank. Go to carlsbadnational.com to learn more.